Okay, in this tutorial I'm going to demonstrate the basics of Photoshop. I'm going to go through the lesson that's in Digital Foundations book, chapter 4. You can download the files online and I will be sending you the link to these. This might be a review for some of you. If it's a review, you can go very quickly through this. Mostly it's a lesson about how to do the most basic modification of pixels, how to get an image in and out, and how to use cropping and other ways of changing the composition that are quite fundamental in Photoshop. And Photoshop is different than Illustrator and vector graphics in that all the changes we're going to make are about removing and changing pixels. From inside Photoshop, I'm going to select the File, Open tab, and I'm going to navigate to chapter 4, which is on my desktop. That is what I've downloaded from online. I'm going to go to the start, and under rule of thirds is the file we're going to use, called Dog Beach PSD. Here's some information about it. It shows that it's 28 megabytes. It shows that it's a native Photoshop file. I'm opening it up. Here it is. And I will point out that when it opened up, the layers menu also opened up immediately, and I just going to point out how the layers menu already has 2 layers on it automatically in this Photoshop file. The top layer has made some changes or modifications. It's put a kind of a filter over it, and the bottom layer is the original photograph. So go ahead and look at that. If your layers menu isn't up, just like in Illustrator, there's a window menu at the top. Just many of the same menu options at the top. Under the window menu, you can select layers. And that's going to be always one of the most important things that you might be using to modify your images. So open up this file. And what this exercise is doing is asking you to think about the composition of this file and to make some changes to the file with some of the tools that allow you to modify and change and eliminate pixels. I'm going, and it asks, specifically asks you to use some of the first top tools in the top part of the menu. I'm going to point out these tools before we get to the main tool that's going to be used in this exercise, which is the crop tool. The top tool is a selection tool. It's also called a move tool because it's the tool that you can use to grasp objects and move them easily. The direct selection for that on your keyboard would be a V key. There's nothing to select right now, so I can't really move anything around. The next tool that you see in this menu is called a marquee. Just like with Illustrator, it lets you select areas, but the selections work in a different way than in Illustrator. We just get a little marching ants dotted line that shows the area we've selected, but it doesn't really let us touch anything, do anything to it until we've decided what that's going to be. I want to show underneath all of these tools are little triangles with other options to give you other possibilities for selections. And just like with Illustrator, if you hold down the Shift key while you're making a selection, you will get a symmetrical shape as opposed to an elliptical shape. So just now I was holding down the Shift key to get that circle with the marching ants, and now I'll go back to the rectangle and make a rectangle with marching ants. That doesn't, where I didn't hold the Shift key down. The next tool down is called the lasso tool. There's 3 different lasso tool options. You'll be using this a lot. And these three tools are all about making selections in your image, picking things out. The lasso tool works by clicking around an image. You can click, 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 click at different points in this space. It always makes hard corners, but if you go back and meet your path, it makes a path. If you go back and meet your path at the beginning, you will get a dotted line and be able to select that area. There's a few other lasso tools that are very interesting to work with, including the magnetic lasso tool that follows color gradations. So see how it kind of magnetizes itself to the edge of the dog? It's looking for the difference between the color of the dog and the sand as best as it can. And once again, if I get to the beginning of it, to its little anchor path, it'll select. When there's a circle of marching ants, that means you have a selection. The next tool down to make selections that are automatically determined by the computer according, again, to color contrast. So I'm selecting much of this dog just using color contrast. And then again, it has other options underneath it, a quick selection tool and a magic wand tool. To deselect, there's a shortcut, Command D. That deselects. You really can't do anything new until you deselect. Finally, here's the cropping tool. That's what we're going to be working with in this project.